Let's go! Oh, buddy, let's go! Dude! Oh, man.
All right, guys, welcome to this week's episode of Midwest Whitetail. It's been a fun morning so far. Ryan and I are down here on Area 52, and we were able to capitalize on his first gobbler down here on my farm. We've been hunting hard over the last couple days. We went over to Illinois and met up with our buddy Jeff Dietz. Didn't have any luck over there, but had some success down here on Area 52. Wanted to give a quick update on how the pond's doing. As you can see, we've had quite a bit of rain. At times I've been a little worried that it might be too much rain, that I might have to pump some out of it. But I also want to check on the nurse crop of oats and also the MonsterBuck Multi Year that I have actually seeded at the same time too. Nurse crop of oats look great. Germ rate looks really good on both the clover and the chicory, so I'm really happy with that. And on this week's show, we're gonna go over to Owen Reigler, and he's gonna go through a list of the items that he sees for a successful upcoming season and the stuff that he wants to accomplish going into the year, where if there's anyone that you wanna take some tips from, it's definitely Owen. So I really hope you guys enjoy this week's show.
Welcome back to the show, guys. Today, you guys are gonna follow me around for half a day, kind of see what goes into being successful, having a great fall, having the animals here. You know, the work that you put in right now, this directly correlates to your success in the fall. The animals you see, the reason that they're here, so super important to get this food in. And there's a lot of reasons to do food plots. I mean, my view on it has changed over the years. I started out, I just wanted to attract wildlife. I wanted to be able to see them. And then finally, when I got my feet wet in that, it was so much fun, and the satisfaction was so high from going out there and building that and then seeing them utilize it. You know, now it's a little bit different that, you know, if you're a manager and you want to get the deer to the next year, the next age class, I mean, it's almost imperative that you got to have the food to keep them there. Every minute of time they spend on your farm, they're not somewhere else in somebody else's farm, you know, getting harvested. So super important for a deer management standpoint to have that food, try to keep them in there as much as you can. I'll show you a couple different ones where I've got some ideas. You know, talking to some guys at the Iowa Deer Classic this last March, there was quite a few people that came up and said they want to start doing food plots, but they don't know where to start, you know, what to do, what to plant. So I want to go into some of that, what I would do, and see if that doesn't help you guys get started on it. Oh my gosh! Yeah, dude, we got him, buddy. Your dad's up there smiling so bad right now. All right, we're down here at the Loch Ness plot, also where I killed white 8 just right over my shoulder here. One of my favorite spots. This is that MonsterBuck blend that I just pieced together. I ordered everything separate and then put together my own mix. So turned out pretty good, I'd say. So we need to evaluate what we have here and what we want to do going forward. See all these yellow flowers? I've never seen this before, but those are, I think all these are radishes. What's left of that one. I've never seen them carry over winter and grow the next spring, but they're all throughout here. That's crazy. We've got some crimson clover, a little bit of clover coming up, so undecided what I'm going to do here. So what we want to do on almost every case, whether it's fallow field, food plot that's established, is if you keep it mowed fairly short, I mean, you don't want to go clear to the ground or anything, but if you keep it short, it's very manageable if you want to come back, spray it, say late July, to plant more brassicas or whatever you want to do with it. So that's what we're going to do with everything, is just keep it mowed for now. This is pretty sparse on clover, so what I'll probably do is keep this mowed, and when we get to late July, I'll come in and spray everything that's not clover, leave the clover, and then just plant brassicas right into it. The other thing I want you guys to look at, when you look at my food plots on an aerial, you'll see they all connect. They establish like a line. If you can connect them with a trail, it is deadly, you know, in between those plots, especially during the rut. The bucks come in there, they look for a doe. If they don't find one, they go to the next plot and the next one, and they just basically run laps. They'll just keep going around these food plots. So those are my best stand locations, is in between two food plots where they go in between. So I'll show you some of that as we go. If you got cereal grains like this, if you let it go to seed like this and mow it, that's all you need to do. That'll kill it. Now, if you mow it when it's short, it'll resprout and keep growing, but let it go to seed like that, mow it, and it's done. So that's all you need to do for your rye, winter wheat, oats, all that stuff. I like to cut her about 6 to 8 inches on these green sources like this. Seems to be about right. Let it get up to about 12, maybe 16 inches. Cut it back to that 6 or 8. The one downside of your tire tracks is you're not going to get everything. Your tire is going to roll over some of this taller stuff and then it won't mow it, but still good enough. I mean, we got majority of it killed. Oh, one thing I didn't mention. Right now is a perfect time to spray it the first time. We've had rain. We've had like 9 inches of rain the last 2 weeks. So you don't want to mow and you don't want to spray when either your crop or your weeds are stressed. It's hard to get them killed, you know, and then of course your crop, same thing. When it's stressed, it gets burned worse and stuff when you spray. So let this start to come back. You want it green and growing and short. When it's tall like that and you spray it, it's tough to kill, especially some of the broadleafs are real tough to kill. So knock them back with the mower, that'll kill some of them. And what comes back when it's short, green and growing, come back and spray it then. So what I would spray on my clover, my alfalfa, is clethodim for your grasses and 2,4-DB for your broadleaf. Now I started mixing those together, but if you do that, you're going to get a little bit of leaf burn on your clover and your alfalfa, but make sure you take out the AMS, the crop oil, and your nionic surfactant. If you take that stuff out, you can mix those two and get just a little leaf burn. If you don't take that stuff out, I learned the hard way, you can pretty much kill your crop. It's hot. You know, if you don't have a lot to do like I do, I would recommend just spray it separate. Your clethodim, your 2,4-DB, spray it separate and you'll get along a little bit better. Let's head to the next one. I want to show you the way some of these food plots lay out, like I was saying, the way they connect. And those are my best stand sites, so let's go check that out. Through talking with the people at the Iowa Deer Classic, this was the most common scenario they had. It's just overgrown fallow field, tall weeds or whatever. So what I would do with this is I would just keep this mowed until I was ready for my food plot. Just keep this mowed short and then come in, plant it, spray it the same day. Of course you want to soil test and fertilize. I guess that goes without saying, but that's what I would do with this. I mean, the other thing you could do is just keep spraying it, but the problem is when it's tall like this and you've got years of, you know, old regrowth or whatever, when you spray it, you're just going to keep having sprouts coming back up. You're not going to get everything. Just take a look at what this looks like right here. See, when you spray that, how much stuff's going to be underneath all of that. You can see some sprouts right there. So that stuff's just going to keep coming and you should have to keep spraying it. But if you keep it mowed short and then you come in and deal with it, you'll get a good kill on it first time you spray it. That's what I would do with this kind of stuff. Now let me show you a little corn problem I have over here. All right, check this out. Look at the volunteer corn I have right here. Obviously that creates a problem. You're not going to get any years where you have that much volunteer corn, that many stalks in a small area. It won't put on an ear. So what do you want to do with that? A few options. You can come in, disc it, start over, disc the whole thing, start over if you want. You could disc just this part, replant corn, beans, whatever you want. I think what I'm going to do is spray it with clethodim. That'll kill the corn just in the areas that have volunteer. Then I'll come in, whatever I want to put. This will just give me another opportunity to have that diversity that I love. So instead of having all corn, I can put brassicas here, clover, whatever I want to put in the fall, you know, winter wheat. Just give me a nice little cove, and then I'm going to make that lead right up to that tree stand up there. There's 2 tree stands up there, and these food plots connect. Like I was saying, you can see this one connects to this guy, and that connects to the crabs plot, and then that connects to Death Row over there. That's another food plot. So you can see the way these all connect, and I've got stand sites at each of those. So, you know, obviously it's a problem we got to deal with, otherwise we're not going to have much of a food plot here. But what I plan to do is leave the good corn, the stuff that doesn't have the volunteer, and then just come back and deal with the stuff in the middle and plant something different. So there's options. Of course, this is a little bit of a controversial subject with food plots, you know. The new fad is everything's got to be public land. You can't hunt a food plot, otherwise you're not hunting. But you know what people don't take into account is the satisfaction of doing this yourself and seeing the deer out in it. Herd health, year-round nutrition, yeah, leaving the herd in a better place, leaving your farm better for wildlife. That's all stuff that speaks to me now, you know. I had my day hunting public, loved it, and I grew to love hunting doing that, but I love this even more. So the guys that have never owned land and have been able to do this probably don't understand that, but which is fine. Everybody can hunt their own way. It doesn't matter to me, but
you made your dream come true, man.
Yep. Chased the dream and did it. Highly recommend it. It'd be tough to do it again, I can tell you that. Where the ground prices are now, it'd be tough. I got here at the right time. Got a little lucky, worked hard, and had some ambition, so don't forget that luck side of things. Some things have to go your way to make it happen. Of course, a lot of help along the way. It's like a spring off my desk. I take all this stuff with me. Devin probably gets very sick of me because if I see trash laying on the farm, Devin, grab that. Take it back, burn it, do whatever you got to do with it. But this is one of those connectors I was telling you about, how we try to get these food plots all to go in a line. Right here's a perfect example. Tree stand there, tree stand there. There's a little access lane right here. Like I said, they connect. You just go from the Loch Ness plot down to this plot, Crab's plot, death row. Just goes in a line. If you draw it out on the farm, you'll see the whole farm lays out like that. They just keep connecting. Highly recommend that. You know, rather than having one that dead ends going into your fence and then it just leads them to the neighbors, and just try to keep them all connected. Just keep them on your land as long as you can.
Do you notice a lot of bucks cruising along that path? Like, is that the intention behind it? You have does come to the food source and then bucks are cruising that route? Is it just to keep everything central to your bedding? What was the idea behind that originally?
You know, I think it was hunting opportunities originally, you know, and I do see that especially during the rut, the bucks using these connectors. I mean, we're making these, but I mean, you can find these naturally and they work great too, you know, but I mean, it's just a killer place during the rut. You know, buck's gonna come out here and bump does around. If he doesn't find one receptive, he's gonna go into this plot. And if you watch late season when Rachel and I were hunting down here, all the deer did work back and forth right through this. They came out here, worked to there, some came out here, worked to this side. So just a nice little setup. One more thing you can do to improve your odds. To me, hunting and being highly successful is all about improving your odds. That's always the way I've looked at it. What can I do to give myself just a little bit better percentage chance of connecting, you know? And if you look at it like that, pretty soon you're tipping the odds in your favor to where you're gonna be successful more than you're not. But success for different people may not be killing a deer. Maybe it's just seeing deer or seeing wildlife, and that's great too. I love that just as much. One thing I didn't mention, would have been a perfect time to rotate crops on all that volunteer corn. If I'd have put that to soybeans, I could have came in and just smoked the corn, sprayed it with clethodim, and been done with it. But that's okay. Like I said, it'll give me diversity in that plot. I got my soybeans over here. You can see I've got them sprayed. They got a good kill on it. Let's go see if they're up. Looks like they are. And this is going to need to get mowed again. I got the wheat that's all headed out to seed, so mow that and that'll be dead. A lot of clover in it. Diversity rye. Diversity.
Why is it so good?
Man, it's just, you don't want to have a reason they need to go elsewhere. I've got soybeans, I've got clover, wheat here, corn. I mean, they've got everything they need right here, and that's what I'm trying to provide. I don't want them to have to leave. Year round, I want to keep them here. You know, I just love watching them. For one, heck, I had bachelor group out in the field right behind my house the other day. It was awesome. I couldn't quit looking, like, oh, what deer's that, you know? I just love that stuff anymore. Just like you, Rye. I love you.
I love you too, buddy. I really wish you weren't 3 hours away.
So Devin actually planted this with the Great Plains drill. 7.5 inch spacing, and this will canopy quick. It really helps for weed control, because 7.5 inch rows will canopy a lot faster than obviously 30 inch rows, so really helps you when it comes to the weed competition. I'll probably still spray it twice just because that's the way I am, but it'll make a heck of a plot. This is about 3 acres of beans and probably just over an acre of clover right here. Obviously, you guys know it's one of my favorite spots I've ever hunted. Either end of this plot, like I said, we got the connectors on each end, so that's where we can pinch them down, so that's where we mainly bow hunt. If you're gun hunting, you could cover about this whole thing. I'll give you guys a little tip for fertilizer. There's an app out there from Ag PhD, and it's called Removal Rates. You can type in your crop, and it'll show you, based on the bushels or the tonnage that you're trying to grow, it'll show you what that will remove as far as nutrients. So I fertilize based on my removal rates, and if you want to build those nutrients, of course, then you just up whatever. I mean, you could double it if you wanted and try and build that so you don't need as much, but at a minimum, I'm going to put in my removal rates for fertilizer. So, I mean, you look at corn, it has clover, alfalfa, soybeans. You can even put, you know, I don't think it has brassicas, but it does have some similar products like sugar beets. You can look at that to give you kind of a good ballpark versus purple top or radish. So look at those removal rates, and that'll give you a good starting place for your fertilizer, especially if you don't already have a soil sample sent in. So great place to start. One of the things I started doing with my bean plots is taking the Great Plains drill with brassicas and drilling them right into my beans. It makes an awesome plot because, you know, it'll kill some of your beans doing that, but enough of them still make it where you have a soybean plot still, and then you have a brassica plot all together. So started doing that the last couple of years, and it really works out great, and I'm going to do that here as well. So I expect this to be full of deer, beans, brassicas. Then if you go this way, you got corn, and that's that death row setup like I've said before. If you want one or the other, you got to go through death row, and that's not a good place to go. All right, you see what we had here? We just broadcast into these soybeans. We broadcast winter wheat into this. And the reason we put it here is we got the walnut right there that we hunt out of. You guys remember that split G2 buck coming up through this edge, hitting some of these greens, hitting the scrape, and then heading down death row there. So that's what we're trying to create here with a little bit of green. Just bring them over by the tree stand. And you can see on this, I just sprayed this with my beans, and we got a pretty good kill. There's one spot there, still got a little bit of green in it, but I'm not too worried about it. We'll get it on the second pass. It's getting a little breezy here. And this just needs mowed. Let's see what kind of clover's in this, if we need to overseed this or what we want to do with it. So this has got some bare patches in it. It needs to be overseeded. I'm probably going to use that MonsterBuck Multi Year in this. My plan is to put some more clover in here, so I would just broadcast seed this. And that's another good point too, is you don't need a bunch of expensive equipment. I can't tell you how many food plots I fertilize with a bag spreader. Think about that, dumping 50-pound bags into your bag spreader and walking it out. I did a ton of that, you know, back in the day. Now I've got equipment, a row crop farm also, so that helps a lot. But the only thing you really need is a four-wheeler, a mower, a sprayer, and a bag spreader. If you have that stuff, you can do plots all day long. And this, I would just take a bag spreader to it, overseed the light spots, and then mow this. You'll have another good little clover plot. Again, you want it to be either bedding or food, and you know, if it's in between that, for hunting farm, I really don't want it, so that's why I'm just making this food here as well. You could leave it just grass if you wanted, but why not add the food? What are the odds we'll get a shot at a buck here this fall? I'm gonna say pretty good. I mean, is there one down here we want to hunt is the question. If there is, he's gonna walk this lane and we'll have an opportunity. Whether or not I'll make the shot, well, it depends on how much shooting I do in the off season. Am I prepared? You gotta be prepared. Dad always used to say, you've got to be prepared, boy. You've got to be prepared. So that's where the shooting comes in. We will be prepared. Doesn't mean I won't miss though. As everyone can attest, things happen. Deer, ducks, catch a limb, make a bad shot, it can still happen, but we'll be far more prepared than we would be otherwise. Got some little clover coming up. Stuff I probably seeded last fall, coming back.
Now that looks like good corn.
Yeah, way better. One thing I did here is I disabled one row. I think it was row 10. That'll give me an opportunity to come back in this when I want to, if the field's clean, and just broadcast whatever I want in it. So one more thing you can do, disable a row, 2 rows, gives you those strips. You don't have to worry about going in and mowing it or anything. Just ready to go.
So do you plant straight rye?
It's usually winter wheat.
I know a lot of people like oats. Where do you stand on oats?
Love oats early, but they're the first ones to frost out. So if you're going for a winter food source or late season, I like to go with rye or winter wheat. And of course, back in the day, I've tested all this stuff like some kind of weirdo. I ran a plot that was oats, rye, winter wheat, all in the same plot. Figure, you know, not too many variables. It was close to bedding every one of them. And oats was the most preferred early. Went to winter wheat after that, and rye was last. That's why I don't use a lot of rye nowadays. I'm not saying they don't like it. If there's nothing else green and you have green rye, they're gonna hammer it. So, but if you have them side by side, I think they prefer winter wheat. That's just my personal belief on it. So plant what you want, but I'm more of a winter wheat guy. You know, although this is just a ton of work with fertilizing, spraying, mowing constantly, it's all worth it when you get back to it in the fall. I mean, it's worth every penny and all the time you've got into it. What you put into it right now all comes back to your success in the fall, and I realize success is different to all the different people, but you know, if seeing wildlife is successful, you know, getting your deer is being successful, that's what this is all about to me. I mean, I love just to watch wildlife now, and if I get one, that's even better. So it's all well worth it to me. MonsterBuck's the place to go for your food plot seed. We've got a code, it's MWW, it gets you 20% off, so go there and get what you need. I appreciate it, guys, and as always, thanks again for joining me. We'll see you on the next one.